So I guess we get to start your video with just the absolute gold that I just learned
Yeah,
about.
my recording crashed like 10 seconds ago, so...
It's fine. You only missed balancing on the turntable and coming over here. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I was trying to knuckle into these cars, and there was no Lincoln pin, so I stopped, and I went to back up, and I was like, oh, I'll just blow through the brake to put the Lincoln pin in, and then it won't go too far. And this is just the most advanced form of railroading.
Oh, yeah, no, the Betsy... Yeah, it's yeah.
This is...
My immersion is
yeah,
not... Yeah, no,
it turns out that it's...
You can do that
I
with the
don't
gear trains, too, I think. And one of the other ones I was doing that with as well. Oh, the Class 48, you can do that with, yeah.
This kills the heist. I am dead inside now.
Well, just, it's you just don't think about it too much. You've got... Listen, okay, so here's the thing. Notice the steam coming out of the whistle is coming out at an angle. That provides a force vector. Right, kind of like a jet engine.
Oh! It's a thruster.
It's a thruster. See, now it's thrusting you down to keep you on the tracks, and then you can.
I see.
It's very powerful. That's why just a little bit of vectoring, and all of a sudden you're moving. But anyway, yeah, we're gonna load up the coal tower with coal and see how that goes. Because we have coal here. Oh, I just put that brake on. Whoops. Yeah, no, you're good.
Bruh.
You're good.
Do we
No
need all
brakes.
these cars?
Yeah, we're gonna load them all. Why not? Right? See what happens.
Well, it only takes 20, right?
That's what it says on the one side, but we don't.
But
we
it
don't
says
know.
120. I guess we don't know. I guess
We
can
have
bring
to
them all
find
in.
out. We're gonna do them like two at a
figure it out.
time. Then we'll see what happens. Oh yeah, this brake was on. Okay, you're good. No brakes. Anyway, we're gonna load up all these coal cars, and then we're gonna go get some cordwood, because that's everyone's favorite activity. And we're gonna deliver it to the various places we have wood fire depots. So we've got one here, we've got one at the smelter, and we've got one at the coal mine.
Where am I going?
Just
Why
keep
am I-
going back. Actually, we're gonna do this.
What were you planning on doing?
I don't know. Well, I was gonna pull you out of one lane and put you back into another, but that's fine. I'm gonna shunt you onto the main. So you're gonna go forward onto the main, like onto the, not the main, but the lead-off track here, whatever. And then
Okay.
I'll unpin you 2 cars because you can't fit all 8 down the siding.
Okay.
You're fine. Don't worry.
I got momentum for centuries.
Yeah, you
over
might as
here.
well. You can start going forward now.
I've been there, done that, friendo.
Okay, perfect. No problem. I feel like
Glad we had a
Betsy
job
would
briefing
not be
before
the
this.
engine you'd use for this. I don't know. It's just maybe.
Well, I mean, Betsy would be good for switching like this, but yeah, the cars are definitely showing Betsy.
Yeah, my
what's
thought.
up,
Well,
so.
my only thought was the coal tipple here. It has a relatively small lead track on it because it interferes with our round table operations. So I just wanted to.
Right.
I always call it a round table because I'm kind of combining the turntable roundhouse situation and.
Right, and it just makes me think of Camelot.
Yeah,
every single time.
We'll build a castle once we actually get like aesthetic building stuff, like
the
like
Knights
just
of the Round
building bricks.
Table? Yes.
Make
Very
this into
good.
a giant castle. Can you imagine if we could like race porters with no speed limit, and have
And
different
have
colors?
flames and stripes on the
Yeah,
side.
exactly. Like put flames on the boat. I'm telling you, Fast and Furious, man.
Dude, we're still on that.
Rail
make
fast,
this
rail
happen.
furious.
Chew fast, chew furious, bro.
Yeah,
Someone sent that in my comments, and I was like, yeah, that's
chew fast, chew furious.
chew
yeah.
fast, chew furious.
Yeah, no, that's
Yep.
for sure. But that's got to be the
It's,
sequel, right? Because it's like,
Right. Yeah, I guess we gotta have the first one, which is something else.
yeah.
Oh man,
You okay?
I'm trying. Okay.
I don't
I'm
know how
using-
this works. We just load into the coal tipple, like as you go forward a little bit. I don't.
It's supposed
What
to
are
be
the
a bottom
numbers?
dump.
The numbers. It's automated.
I don't know.
All right, it says 0 of 20. Let's just load in this direction. See what happens.
Okay.
I pressed it.
Is it
It's
Is it
not.
work?
It's
is it
not.
working?
It's not. It's not doing
Oh,
anything.
do you unload on the wrong side? You unload on the wrong side.
Is that
feed
actually
the
loading?
grass. You feed the grass the coal.
Oh, you put the
coal it's
coal
going up.
onto the grass.
Yeah. Okay, and so 6.
Oh,
Okay, it had.
Okay, it's depleting there.
Yeah. And
How
many
much is
coal
it
do we
filling
have
over here? Oh, literally, it's
We're-
1-to-1, dude. This thing can
Oh.
hold 20, or
Oh.
like 120.
So does that mean we need 6,000, like, million of these to fill the Tweetsies tender? Is that how that works?
I don't know, but it's 100. We need like at least all 8 of these cars just to
Yeah,
put
we need
80 coal in this. It's just the
Yeah.
elevator can only have 20 at a time. All right, so back up more, I guess. We'll
okay.
do all of them in chunks and
That is a
get
choice.
this loaded up. I'm surprised we load the grass. That's the. I don't.
Yeah, I
don't-
mean,
I thought we
it's
were going to unload
whatever.
the other way, but anyway.
That's fine.
Seems a little counterintuitive to me.
Coal is good for grass, maybe? Probably not. Probably not.
Have you seen that place in the States where like there's a coal fire underground that's been burning for like 50 years or something?
I have heard about that, yeah.
And it just like completely messes up everything because it's just too much heat everywhere. Like all the ground is hot.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah.
I have heard that, but that's one of those things that's like, how does that even happen?
Like, wasn't it like a coal mine that caught on fire?
Coal
or
mine that
something?
caught fire. So, yeah, I seem to recall. I've heard this story before.
All
And
right.
somebody now in the comments will have the whole story for us, I'm sure.
If
but...
you just stop and kick, these will go right back into the hump yard.
Kicking? I
There
want
we
to do
go.
some kicking.
Maybe.
They should be. Oh, you didn't line the...
I did line the switch. How did that switch not?
Did you line the right switch? There's two
I'm so
switches right
mad about this life of mine because I'm riding the rail,
there. That is the
doing
anthem
extra
of the railroad.
work because the harbor master isn't here, even though that's boats. Oh my god, we're gonna hit really hard. Ow.
Dunk.
Okay, well, back
That's
up.
fine.
Oh, we haven't talked about this. Maintenance of way versus bridge and building guys, right?
Right.
Employees of the railroad, paid by the railroad. Your whole job is
Yes.
shoveling coal when a train
Well,
shows up.
it depends on what what your role is with B&B, but yes, that is one of the roles.
Do they also build the bridges around the railroad?
They also take care of the structures, the bridges, the buildings, keeping up with whatever paint.
Who designed
trim,
all these
whatever.
bridges back in the day? I watched this documentary that was talking about the Eiffel Tower and the engineers
Oh
that
man,
designed
it
it
is
and
it
all the
is-
wrought iron stuff. But like, did they have engineers design this stuff, or were they just
Dude,
like, let's put
railroad-
big trees down and it'll work?
Old railroad bridges are like just the pile of jank. Like I'm sure that somebody somewhere designed some part of it, but they just they tested them by just sending a bunch of locomotives across it and parking a bunch of locomotives on them at once.
Right,
Like
and
there's
if it holds
stories.
up, we're good to go. Like it's
Yeah, there's stories in like the books like Little Engines and Big Men. They're talking about, oh yeah, they tested this new bridge, and it's just like, yeah, they parked like 5 or 6 engines on it, and it didn't fall down. So there you go. And you're just like, what? Who said that was okay? Who said that we could do it that way? It doesn't make any sense.
I'm gonna unpin you when you get closer, because then
Sure. I'm sure that they had somebody who did design work because the railroads employed their own host of designers. I mean, railroads usually had like a chief mechanical engineer and a chief structural engineer and all that sort of stuff that worked in the offices and typically came up through the craft and learning things that way, because like an engineering degree was kind of a foreign concept in the 1800s and early 1900s. So
I remember civil engineers. We were told why civil engineers were called civil engineers. It was because back in the day, there were basically 2 types of engineers. You were either military, or civil. And if you weren't a military engineer, then you were a civil engineer. Hence the name civil engineers. And now of course, everybody calls them, sissy put a brick on the ground and call it a creation engineers. But that's.
it's fine.
Can you tell? I have
Always
some-
remember, kids, that civil engineers make targets and the mechanical engineers make the things that blow up the
Like the
targets.
things that shoot the targets, like the
Yes.
Gustav.
Yeah, like the Gustav. Dude, the
Look,
comments
it all comes
on that
full
episode.
circle back to railroads, man. Always comes back to railroad.
the comments on the episode where we talked about Schwerer Gustav, the railroad cannon, were awesome. Hearing about the shenanigans that the Germans got up to, and
Did they
how
relay
like,
track? They relayed track, right, to steer it? Like, there's no way.
Yeah, they had a curve. They built a big curve that they could move the cannon down to actually aim it, and they didn't end up shooting it at either
might
the
have
first
to
or
shove
second
this
target.
for a sec.
I'm seeing that. It's
We
fine.
have a little bit of a.
We'll do it. We'll do a kick. We'll kick this and then we'll kick that.
I don't know how
See?
this had so
Okay.
much momentum, to be honest. But
Coal is heavy. It's fine. But yeah, they didn't end up attacking their first target, and then they dismantled everything, moved it to take it to a target on the eastern front, and they did all this stuff, and it's like they hardly used the thing. Like they did all
of course.
this work, and then
Like, it was
they
the
fired it
logistics.
one time, basically.
the logistics of using this freaking massive cannon, it's not worth the cannon, Like it's
Right.
That's just so much effort. You're gonna have to, yeah, just wait up there until I won't be able to throw the switch for a while. When you go to switch at like the museum, right? Because I'm assuming you have switches for all sorts of other little tracks and blah blah blah.
We do. A lot of display tracks, yeah.
Right. Your switches are like pre-planned, miles ahead of the train. Everything's like what kind of a schedule do you guys keep? Do you even have to because you're the only people running your own rail?
It's kind of interesting. It's usually very much so the day of or the day before a need will be determined. Like, oh yeah, we need to get this car out and bring it down to the shop to be worked on because we got done fast enough with some other work or something and a spot became available or needed to be brought down for an event or something, or last second, like, oh, it'd be neat if we had this car for this thing. Usually that sort of deal that determines the need that we need to go fetch a car out of somewhere.
Right.
Or it ends up needing repairs or something or whatever, what have you, that you run into. And then it's very much whoever is in charge on the ground, whoever's the head brakeman, the lead brakeman, whatever, is going to come up with the plan. And usually we'll have a briefing beforehand of how it's going to go and what the overall plan is. Okay, we need to go grab the Caboose 0578. It's buried 5 cars deep on this one track. So we're going to have to go fish stuff out from on top of it, find a place to stick it, grab the car, put it somewhere else, put it on top of our engine, and then put the other stuff back.
And you guys use a little diesel switcher to do that?
We'll almost always use the diesels. Yeah. We'll usually use a center cab switcher that we have. It's a 55-ton center cab 4-axle switcher, diesel number 4 for us.
You know how when we unload wood to the firewood depot, we make money?
Yeah.
We do not work for the coal depot. We do not make money for coal.
Well, that's just inconsistent.
So when we unload all this coal, we've unloaded, probably $1,000 worth of coal and made $0.
No, it's $1,600. It's $200 a car.
Oh, okay, perfect. So $1,600 worth of coal. So this will probably be the only time we fill the coal tipple until we actually use it.
Yeah.
And be very careful when you're here. Never press delete.
Months. It's going to be months before we actually
Which is
use
good,
the coal.
which is good, but don't ever delete it because then we're out.
Because then we're out another $1,600.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I was hoping we would get paid for it because that would be at least something.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually honestly realistic that you're not getting paid for it.
Yeah, I know. We shouldn't get paid for the wood either.
That should probably be how all of it changes to. Oh my goodness!
Where are you going? You're just wasting.
The UI just stopped responding.
Sick. You literally just wasted so much coal.
I don't think it wasted. The numbers were still going up. What engine do we want to run for the cordwood?
The big chonker that we have? I don't know.
Okay. So I'm glad I remembered this. One of my commenters gave a really brilliant idea. And that is, if we bin it with one of our choo-choos, we can't use it the next episode. It has to go sit in the maintenance shed to get fixed. And last episode, we threw the Tweetsy's tender on the ground. So I think the Tweetsy engine
we just
needs
have
to go to the shop.
Tender, is what you're saying?
I mean, well, no, don't take that lesson from this con. Don't do that to me.
I learned what you were just saying. I understand. What engine's at the end of the lead here? Is it the Tweetsy?
Probably.
I think it's the Tweetsy.
So, I mean, we could do the railroad thing and steal a different tender because railroads didn't really care. I mean, we don't have the same class of engine.
You want to run it with a different tender?
We could do that, or we could just not use it. We could put it in the shop so that it could get fixed.
So you're just inventing rules now. This is like the kid who comes in halfway in the game once he's already losing, and then invents a bunch of new rules, and magically he's winning.
But this is co-op, Con.
you see what I'm saying? Like, there's some rules that have been broken now.
Well, but I thought it was a fun thing because
all right, that's fine.
There's no penalty for derailment, so we could just inflict it upon ourselves.
When we get to the 10% and we don't make it up, we'll remember this conversation.
We'll blame you for leaving the brake on the climax, ding dong. That's why we won't make it up. I wasn't the one
who derailed the tender on the Tweetsy, though, did I?
Yes, you were. You were the one that put the whole train together, and then the cars ate the cars. The train went everywhere. I was sitting there peacefully riding as a brakeman, and I start passing our own train on the side of the ground. I don't think any of this would hold up in
railroad court, by the way. I'm just pointing that out.
I'd love to see railroad court. I'm pretty sure it'd be just about the same thing as the Brethren court in
that's
our
second. We can't give away all the ideas, but that's our second TV show series, right? It'll be like
Railroad Court,
Law and Order Railroad Edition, right? And it'll be like exact same as normal Law and Order episodes, but it'll be like dun 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 dun, and then it'll be like the music, and then someone will come on and be like, sir, I saw him driving a 260, but his schedule said 280. And it'll be like, you know, like all the dramatic music. And yeah, it'll be good, man. People will watch this.
That could be a vibe. Can I turn on your sand from out here?
I don't know, can you?
Yes, I can.
You're touching
That's
my levers.
Your levers go all the way out here, so go get fixed, 13. It's fine.
13, listen, 13
You've
doesn't...
been a naughty choo-choo.
Oh, I just derailed it in the shed.
Well, I mean, that's just...
You know what? We're just going to leave it like this. That's perfect. That's like, it represents it getting fixed, you know?
It's, yeah, they've just got a complicated jacking arrangement going on.
They're just going to figure out how to get it back on the track. It's like when you jack up half your car to change the tire. They're changing this side of the tires right now. So they've got it jacked up, you know, and then...
I've watched a friend of mine drop a caboose with a jack before. That was terrifying.
That seems like a terrible... Oh my god.
Well...
I forgot we had.
Fine.
Look at Glenn. Look at this. Look at the Montezuma. It's so pretty.
The little Zoomy boy. We haven't used the Zoomy boy in a minute. We're gonna have to use him again sometime.
Can't believe this guy makes up some stupid freaking rules and now he can't use the best engine.
Spent
$7,000 on that thing, man, and you're just like,
you were the one that wrecked it, Con.
Well, I wrecked it, not realizing that we had rules the next episode.
Well, you know,
Heist.
it was actually suggested a bunch of episodes ago, and I totally spaced it. And I was like, that's actually a really cool idea. Like, that's a neat way to add a little flavor, you know, and some amount of repercussion to derailing. So,
does that mean you're going to drive better?
No, not at all.
Unbelievable. I'm shaking my head right now. Is what
we die like men, sir.
Yeah. But now there's a consequence, Heist. There's now consequence.
It's fine.
I will not go back to running the Montezuma over and over again, just because you destroyed all of our engines. What if I build? What if I put sheds on every one of those roundhouses? Does that mean every engine is perfect all the time?
Have we wrecked 2 engines in an episode?
I don't know. Probably.
I don't know if we've wrecked more than one in one episode. We probably have, but
does this apply to engine sheds at like the helper station? Do those count as repair sheds?
We're gonna let us know in the comments what you think. We're gonna have to come up with those rules because my thought was this is the big division point. This is where our roundhouse
is. This is the only shed that actually counts.
This would be our back shop where you've severely ruined your choo-choo. It's got to go to the back shop and go get.
All right. Well,
so
when
that would be my
when we pull that engine out, I'll delete that shed and remake it and make it red. So then it's the
the red shed.
It's the red repair shed. You know, it's the
okay. I see how it is.
It's the only one that counts. If that's how you want to play it. I think it's all terrible ideas, but you know.
Wow, I see how it is. You see, Con
I wanted to
ideas.
Use the good engine today, Heist. I really wanted to use the good engine.
Wrecked it last time.
And now we're using the bad engine, and I'm gonna be grumpy about it because I'm a railroader and I like to be grumpy when things aren't going my way. Because that's
what's wrong with the Mosca? The Mosca's the Mosca might be the prettiest engine we have.
It doesn't burn the black stuff.
Oh, well, I mean,
it only burns the wood stuff, and it doesn't go as powerful, and it has less chuffs per choo-choo, you know? I don't know.
It's a very, very technical term.
Yeah, man.
You're up here, and you just letting Betsy just take that?
Yeah, man, she'll be fine. I think.
All right. Okay.
Unless she's lined for the iron, in which case, oh god, she's lined for the iron.
You mean the coal unload?
The coal unload.
You're all over the place today, bud.
She's not gonna be fine, Heist. She's not gonna be. Hold on. I made it. Oh god. No. Get it.
Oh my god, Con. Con.
Oh no. What was the rule on cars?
Do you know how many cups we need for this? It didn't say anything about cars. We don't have a car shop, but we could build a car shop in honor of you wrecking the entire train.
That's what happens when what is it? A movable object hits an unstoppable force. Is that unstoppable force?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Oh man, that's a rough one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars in the dirt.
Wow, that's pretty good.
I'll have you know, I received the crap for the Kenosha's and the P-Cups.
Well,
but the
to be
last
fair-
two
to be
wrecks
fair,
have been the
do I
biggest,
have to
and
pee
they've
in the
both
cup?
been yours.
Do I have to pee in the cup though if no one was driving the train?
Yes, you were the one who opened the throttle and walked away, ding dong. Oh my god!
There was 12 cars. I had to put it in notch 8.
Enjoy your 90 days off, sir.
Oh, okay, perfect. Well, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, we're
yeah,
gonna re-rail this mess, and we'll see you back in just a minute.
Yeah, we'll be fine. How many cordwood cards? 11, 12,
We have
13,
18, don't we?
14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Wow, we have 18. Why did we buy 18 cordwood cards? What were we doing?
Because the smelter's out of cordwood always, and if I recall, it is currently out of cordwood once again. So
Yeah, but we're
we
just gonna
should
grab
probably-
cordwood and bring it back here. And,
Yeah,
and
let's-
hump our
let's have
cordwood
loads.
because we have to distribute
Yeah.
it later, and this is what you would use a yard for.
Yeah. So we bring it back to the central location as the road train, and then
And then distribute it.
divest it out into a bunch of little manifest trains. Exactly.
Our hopper consist there needs to be squished together at some point, but that's fine.
we'll deal with that.
Important question, I guess, because we never really talked about this before. Since we have new rules now with this whole binning train nonsense thing, I gotta get that switch for you. What happens if we bin the train on the road?
Oh, that's a good question.
Like, are we not allowed
Because
to?
the penalty that was discussed by the YouTube viewer, and I'm sorry that I'm forgetting your name, was to just not be able to use it the next episode.
Right, but if
which
we
is
bin it on the
probably
road,
least
I feel
painful.
like we're not allowed to use it for the rest of that episode too.
I mean, I guess it depends on how hard it's binned. Like, if it just goes off, I think it's fine. But if it's
Okay.
like, oh god, you rolled down the mountain, good god, okay, maybe drag it back home. That could be fun.
Okay.
And
Well,
then, let us know in the comments, of course, what you think. Like, if we should
we're
implement
playing
it for
Railroads
cars and
hardcore
stuff.
mode all of a sudden. It just
Hardcore
turned
railroads.
hardcore.
We want penalties for our hubris. Yes.
I'm down. I'm
Um,
down to say that if the train is still mostly on the track, kind of like the one that we left in the shed there. If it's like
Right.
mostly on the track, we're allowed to re-rail that. If it's completely off the track, we have to leave it and then come back with some other engine and then drag it back.
I can live by that rule.
Yeah.
And if we do end up wanting to do car stuff too, we could also add like a rip track and a car shop.
I don't
talk about those
want
things,
I don't
so.
want to do car stuff like I did.
Yeah,
All
that gets
these
into a lot of keeping
All of
track
these
of a lot
cars
of
would just
things.
be, they would just scrap them. There's no way they would fix them. They would just be, with
Depends
the,
on the era of the railroad.
These
if
would
these
be
were new,
wooden splinters, sir. There's no way they would have survived
probably
that.
you'd be surprised at what they would have rebuilt. Like,
Really? Like, but wouldn't these cars, like,
Depends.
wouldn't the main wooden structural beams of these cars all be just destroyed from the crumpling of that?
they might be, but they might not be. I mean, most of the cars are typically made out of white oak, which is actually pretty strong, and they're pretty significantly sized sills. The structural members in the car are usually called the main sill, side sill, all that sort of stuff that actually builds up the pieces longitudinally, and they're usually like 6 by 8 inch, chunks of oak, and in this sort of application, so they're actually pretty stout. But at the end of the day, it's a piece of wood, so you just replace it in kind with a piece of wood, and you rebuild the car and go on with your life. The trucks, the iron, the bolster, all that stuff is whatever. And so if these were newer cars, the railroad actually probably would have tried to repair them. Yeah, if they were really screwed up, okay, start over, burn the car down, pick up the iron, and do it again. But
Who makes railroad cars, modern day, and back in the day?
oh
back in the-
goodness,
Because you have
they're-
locomotive manufacturers, obviously, but locomotive manufacturers, they're not making rail cars too, are they?
There's probably some that did. I don't know of any that, like, off the top of my head, like the locomotive manufacturers I've heard of. I haven't heard of them making cars. I've heard of them making all sorts of random things, but such as the name of being a big manufacturer during wartime. Like Baldwin, the locomotive manufacturer, actually manufactured rifles. A lot of the cars in the game were made by a company called Bodie and Benton. It just depends, and cars more so than locomotives were pretty regularly built by the railroads themselves as well. Not
Because they needed
necessarily meaning
specialty
that
things or whatever, and
Yeah, I mean, they were less complex than a locomotive. A car is pretty standard, and a lot of different railroads had their own patterns for trucks. Like the Rio Grande, all the cars on our that are Rio Grande cars pretty much have replica trucks or Rio Grande Railroad built trucks underneath them, rather than the original Jackson and Sharp trucks anymore.
Right.
Because they changed them and changed things. I mean, the cars are very different than they were in 1881 when they were delivered. So the railroads ended up changing a lot of stuff along the way throughout the history of the car. But there are several manufacturers, of course, too, that were dedicated for building cars, and that's true through to this day. Although it's more so the cars are made by external sources these days, more so as the railroads are trying to outsource any sort of liability and all that sort of stuff. The railroads make a lot less
who owns the car
these
like
days.
The railroad, you guys own the engines and your own locomotives and whatever.
Yes.
And then what does an industry buy like if I own a chemical plant and I need to transport chemicals by rail, do I have to buy the cars to transport my own chemicals?
Don't. So the interesting thing is there's a bunch of different people that own rail cars. Mostly not the railroads themselves, actually. The railroads own a number of things. Like BNSF pretty famously owns a ton of their grain hoppers that they use for shipping grain and soybeans and wheat and all this sort of stuff across the northern parts of the U.S. to the ports on the west. You'll see unit trains of these red cylindrical hoppers that all say BNSF on the side. It's like, okay, they own those. But there are a lot of different manufacturers and companies and banks and all sorts of outfits that own their own rolling stock, and many of them actually own their own locomotives and then just lease them.
So if you own your own cars, right?
Yes.
And some engineer bins it and puts them in the dirt for whatever reason, you have to pay for the maintenance costs of those cars?
Well, so this comes down to a fun amount of litigation and things, of course, right?
So
you
what
always
you're
gotta
saying
get
is
courts involved.
Law and Order Train Edition.
Is a real thing. Yes, Law and Order Train Edition could be a thing. So this is
we
actually
saw that
you
you were going 15 in a 14 mile an hour zone, and you binned
Therefore,
7 cars.
You owe TTX that money. Yes, yeah. So there is actually a neat setup for this because most of the railroads don't own most of the cars they move, and they interchange between railroads. So what happens when a car that is owned by Citibank under the reporting mark of something like CREX, they own train cars and locomotives and things.
Why would a bank own a train?
Because it's an investment property for them. They can lease them out and make money off of them, and it's a way that they can have their money into an asset.
How
and
fast
that's
does it take to cover the lease? Like the price of a car is what? A few $100,000, something like that, right?
A car, 100,000, 200,000 maybe these days, yeah.
Right, okay. And so how long would it take you to lease that out to cover its own cost, do you think?
That is a great question that I don't know the answer to.
I feel like it would be like at least like 10 years, right? Like minimum.
No, the car's, like the service life of a train car is pretty long, 30,
Right.
40, 50, sometimes even longer than that, you know? So it's definitely possible. But anyway, say that car derails or it needs work and it's on a Union Pacific train when the thing breaks, and then it gets interchanged over to BNSF, and BNSF gets the car and inspects it, sees the problem. Okay, well, they bring it to their car shop, they fix whatever it is, and whatever the fix is, the American Association of Railroads, the AAR, has a standardized price for that repair. Okay, you had a grab iron break on your car, that is considered standard wear and tear, whatever, bolts come loose, things happen, whatever.
Right, but like...
It breaks. They bill the owner for doing the maintenance on their car. It's a standard bill, standard amount of hours. Whether or not it takes the railroad longer to actually fix it,
I'm just
well, that's too bad, but...
I'm just so confused about the logistics of this, okay? So you have railroad company A, the railroad owner, they own the rail, they're responsible for maintaining the rail, they drive the locomotives, they have the engineers and the staff. And they need to bring goods from industry A to industry B, right? So you have industry A and industry B, railroad company C, then you've got the car owner D, who leases the cars to the railroad because the industries are asking the railroad to who, you know what I mean? Like
they're not technically leasing the cars to the railroad. They are hauling cargo, you know, they're carrying cargo for the railroad in that car, but they still own the cars and they're not leased. so they get a cut of whatever the revenue is.
Of whatever the railroad makes.
Yeah, you shipped it, you made this
So
much money,
the supply
you made
company
it using
just
my
says,
car.
like, hey,
boom.
we built our factory on the side of this railroad. We need you to transport 7,000 things from here to there, you know, figure it out. And then the railroad goes, okay, we need a certain number of these kind of cars to do that. Let's go get cars owned from X, Y, and Z, throw them on a train, and now we have to pay a cut to X, Y, and Z because we used their car.
Either that, or in some applications they do lease them as well. It depends on the arrangement. There's a lot of different arrangements for these sorts of things because of the complexity of it. But yeah, I mean, it is
Railroads,
for the customer. It's
bureaucratic
as simple.
edition.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and there's a lot of bureaucracy.
Let's make a
and politics
railroads
that goes
game
into
that's
it.
just a text-based railroads game, right? There's no actual
1980s,
railroads, and it's
style,
just
yeah.
filling out all the forms to like transport goods from point A to point B. You know?
It's a surprisingly large amount.
Yeah,
The easy thing, like for the customer, you're like, hey, I'm on the railroad. I need some stuff shipped. Okay, come pick it up. And then the railroad has to figure it out. And the railroad is usually not very good at figuring it out, which is usually why the customers end up complaining. Because
See, I'm always curious about that because,
okay,
like, I know, like, when I worked at GM, they had a big rail yard right next to the plant for loading cars onto car carriers, even like modern, right?
right.
And you know, like, I would imagine GM would own some of their own rail cars. They've got money. They're a big company. Like, it wouldn't make sense for them to lease that stuff, right? Like, I don't, you know, but they're still paying someone else to come and operate the trains and move the cars.
Right. You know, I'm not sure who owns Autoracks specifically. I've seen Autoracks with company, like railroad company logos on them.
Right.
So they may be owned by the railroads, but I mean, I could see GM owning some stuff too.
So the railroad engineer will like show up with his locomotive, and then he'll be sitting there waiting for them to load all this stuff, or is it'll be loaded?
So the
before he
crew
shows up?
doesn't get called till it's loaded. So like
okay.
the crew will come in. They'll bring the empties in. Or actually it would be loaded in it. Whatever. They bring the loaded train in from
You're good,
the other
by the way,
destination, moving up to. They spot it, the cranes unload it, and then the cranes reload it with the new stuff, which is the whole process. But the engineer's not waiting that whole time. Engineer pulls in, spots the cars, and then he's off duty.
All right, you're good.
And then, you know, it's probably a different engineer and different conductor that comes back when it's time to get things loaded again. And so then once all that happens, you have the magic dance of train comes in, cranes unload it, skeleton rigs take the containers, put them wherever for either to go on boats or to go on trucks or whatever it is. Empty well cars get loaded up by the cranes as the new containers get staged. Train crew gets called. Train heads out. They grab fresh locomotives from mechanical or from wherever they're staged around the yard. We didn't really keep staged consists at mechanical in Seattle because of geometry problems. So they would grab these built consists that were serviced, ready to go, and take them over the road. And the crew could run them for 12 hours, and then you needed a new crew. So you'd be doing crew swaps, all this stuff. So by the time you get to Chicago, I mean, you've probably had 5, 6, maybe 7 train crews, depending on just the level of service it is. You've probably been serviced by probably 20 different mechanical employees, stopping for fuel, stopping for sand, for crew packs to get reloaded.
You're not supposed to tell people about how you like getting serviced by 20 different mechanical employees at the same.
Well, I mean,
oh,
you know,
whoa! Don't pull. You got more load still.
we're still loading.
Yeah,
we're not
still
done
loading.
being serviced.
You're jumping the gun there. The thought of being serviced by 20 mechanical.
Oh, it got me excited. Okay,
You got
the SFS. Have you ever been SFS'd? Sand fuel serviced, dude. at the DSF, the diesel servicing facility.
Ah, man, I did a whole episode once where I talked about pipe. I was playing that car racing game Zapekist, and we were riding pipe, and I talked about riding pipe the whole time, and people could not keep themselves together in the comments. They were
well, you did that to yourself, Con.
they were very they were just, I didn't understand what was, so it was just an innocent pipe riding track, you know, and everyone was just, they were all into it. So I think we just need to adopt the vacuum tube project.
Okay, Con.
Where we
stop.
suck people through vacuum tubes like those containers.
This is not Futurama. It's not
and we can
Futurama.
just send them, vacuum tube. And then it'll be a problem with obesity, though, because you'll need variable tubing sizes for different sizes of people.
I mean, it just means you've got a better vacuum seal, right? Is that how that works?
Yeah, but like if you put a really skinny person in like a tube that's like 6 feet wide, they're not going to go.
You just load them into a sabot,
right, into a little capsule, and then they'll just wear inflatable fat suits while they go through these tubes.
Welcome to Khan's future, everyone.
Dude, this would be perfect. We can make the ultimate dystopian society here, you know?
That is a place. It's not a good place, but it is a place.
You ever heard of the multiverse theory? You know, the multiverse universe?
Yes.
And
yeah.
So
Khan's
there's a universe like that, man. There's a universe
one.
out there where anything you could dream of exists, right? So that is a thing. You're ahead too, by the way, whenever you want to.
Ahead too. Anyway, yeah, so railroad stuff is like really removed from the general public. Like people's interface with the railroad is, I got stuck at a grade crossing and had to wait for the big train to go by, but it doesn't impact me and it doesn't matter to me and it's unimportant because it's just a train, right?
Pretty global though in terms of how much freight gets transported by rail every year.
So is that spot good?
You can go ahead a little bit, but it'll probably still work anyway.
Okay, I'll go.
Yeah, it's still working anyway.
Okay. If you buy something on Amazon Prime in the United States,
they lay track right to your door, and then
they lay track to your right. It's a train that delivers
and then
it.
It's a
you got me.
Shows up.
Yep. Just you hear the sound of a GE 7FDL diesel engine and sneezing air compressor.
And if you're not home, they'll play the 5 chime right at your door.
Yeah, just right there.
Yeah.
No, so the reason it works, they have these distribution centers that are giant warehouses that all the trucks and the guy in the truck or the van shows up and delivers the thing. Okay, well, how did it all get to that distribution center in the first place? Well, guess what? It came on a train, probably a BNSF train if you're on the West Coast, or UP, from Seattle, from Los Angeles, from Portland. One of those different ports came on the distribution network via railroad to Chicago. Then it went out and got loaded from the containers to the warehouse, and then it gets available to you.
Right.
So, you're not on the receiving end, but things that you buy have probably been on a train. Most things that you buy have
and they've probably been on a boat too.
Probably been on a boat too. That's
for like 60 plus days on a boat. You know how long it takes to sail across the ocean?
From China, yes.
Like it's crazy. You look at the size of these, and they're like, man, we're burning like 12,000 gallons per hour, and it takes us 60 days to get there. No big deal.
But I mean, the boats. I mean, Okay, so there's this whole thing with like train guys, like where we get excited. Us train guys get excited when talking to car guys because we can joke about how big everything we work on is compared to car guy stuff.
Yeah,
and then the boat people show up.
Yeah, I know, right?
And the boat people, that's a whole different
cars
universe.
are like thousands, right? It's like when you get if you have $1,000, you have a car, and you're like, yeah, look at me, I got $1,000, and the train guy's like, please look at, I've got $1 million, and the boats guy is just like, hold my trillions, just. Please, just calm down.
Yeah, on your car, you've got maybe some half-inch
You're good
hardware.
ahead too, by the way.
Maybe something about that. On the train, it's like, okay, I got some 2-inch, 4-inch hardware, just depending on. And then the boat, it's like, yeah, I got some 4-foot hardware, and you're like, what?
The boat drive shaft weighs more than the whole train itself. Like it's
yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, it's a whole other level of engineering.
And this thing doesn't have air brakes. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
if only Khan didn't wreck the Tweetsy.
Well, I didn't make up the rules, right? So, we can argue about this all you want, but I did not make up the rules, sir.
You see how he's complaining? You see, folks? You see what it is?
Have you seen boats when they're like, a boat does like 20 knots and they're like, man, that boat's rocking fast because it can do like 50 kilometers an hour or something, and that's considered like ludicrous speed. What's the speed limit on most railroads, like most class 1?
The speed limit that you end up with, if it's like a big
the
thoroughfare,
absolute
big
max,
main line,
like the Autobahn of train roads,
So for most railroads, it's 79 miles an hour because the laws on what you have to have in terms of train control.
Hold on, let me just convert that to normal people units real quick.
That's vaguely 120 kilometers an hour?
127 kilometers an hour.
127, okay. 127 kilometers an hour. It's the mile an hour before 80 because the new rules apply 80 and above. And the amount of stuff you have to have in terms of train control, like cab signal and stuff, to go faster than 80 makes it pretty cost prohibitive.
You need a notch 8.
Special places.
You need a notch 8, number 1.
Well, I mean,
And then you need
that to
like,
get
what was
those
it, 20
speeds
cars?
anyway,
20 loaded cars in
but,
Notch
it
8?
was 30, 32, 36,
32
39.
cars?
It was
that-
30 something cars. I thankfully don't remember much of that movie anymore, so it's fine.
Sounds like you need a rewatch to really educate yourself.
Oh, don't that movie's pain. That movie is pain, and it can only be watched.
We need to make
while violating Rule
literally
G.
the exact same movie, but narrow gauge. That's
So we've been planning, and I've hinted at it a couple times on the channel, and I
Same
have
script.
the start of the script.
You know.
No, we're gonna do Unsplodable, which is gonna be our parody on the 3-foot narrow gauge of Unstoppable.
right. But then that
with the
scene where they're
explodey
like
boys,
in the
the
command
tank
center
cars.
and they're looking at the train coming down the track and they're trying to route the signals. You need to have it be
Yeah.
like, oh my god, there's this, like they're looking at a schedule because there's no screens, right? And they're like, oh my god, so and so is on the same schedule. He's gonna be there, blah blah. And then you have to get like the whole Lord of the Rings thing where it's like, light the towers, and the guy's like lighting towers down the track to let the guy know. They're like
beacons are
waving the
lit.
flags and like, it'd be
The
perfect.
beacons of Ministereth.
Yeah,
Gondor calls for aid. Yes.
yeah. But do
the
it with
Rio
trains.
Grande calls for aid.
So that he's like,
And the
"No, you
Rio
gotta
Grande
throw that
Southern
switch,
shall
throw the
answer."
switch." And it's like, those old signal towers where they use the flags in the different positions. You got a bunch of those. The guys are like relaying it down the track ahead of this, unstoppable train,
Okay,
right?
so I had already had plans for Unsplodable and then Pirates of the Mainline afterwards. Now I guess Lord of the Rails has to
Yeah,
become
Lord
the
of the
third parody. It's gonna be the highest
I will
budget
take
one.
the golden spike to Isengard or whatever to Mordor.
It needs to be cast into the
Yeah.
fire of.
You must cast the golden spike into the fire. Oh god.
into the firebox at Mount Doom at
Yeah,
Baldwin.
perfect.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
the stationary boiler.
Yeah.
For the Baldwin shops. There you go.
Yeah, we're
Oh, God.
man. You know what's sad is like
They-
these would
they-
be,
they
these
write
would be better
themselves.
movies than like half the movies that come out on a regular basis. Like honestly,
It's not hard. It's
Yeah.
really not hard.
like
I was talking about something earlier, and you derailed my conversation. and now
dude,
I
I
don't
was
remember what it
just I was so excited about all the movie prospects. Honestly, it's been the highlight of
They
my
write
life.
themselves, man. It's
I
genius.
really should get into script writing because I feel like I could write a terrible script just based on one of these ideas.
easily.
The dialogue like writes itself. Like it,
It really
does.
does.
It really does.
It really does.
You just take every other terrible movie that's ever been made and just, boom, done, problem solved. All right, we're good. You can head on back.
Okay, I'm running back up to the head end here. It's
We're gonna
fine.
hump 18 cars. That's gonna be great.
That's a lot of cars to hump, and they're gonna be loaded.
Yeah, well,
they're gonna take us for.
I
a
hope
ride
we could
here.
actually make it up the hump with 18 loaded.
Moscow's got some tractive effort.
Yeah, we could take a run at it too. But
Yeah, we made the rule change today, but you were the one that derailed the engine in the first place after telling me how you're the better engineer and you don't derail ever. So
well, I don't drive nearly as much, so like derails per hour.
DPH, yes, the
DPH,
metric.
yes.
Yeah.
Like my DPH based on runtime is much better than your DPH, I feel. Someone could probably take all of our episodes and do the math on DPHs, and I would love to see that statistic. Because you could
who's
look at
driving
all
for
our
what
videos, you could figure out based on all those videos how often I run the train versus how often you do, add up the total time of both of those, and then divide it by the number of derails each person did. That's your DPH, right? It's perfect. Someone could do this math, and it would be
it's foolproof.
yeah.
It's full.
And I'm sure my DPH is lower than yours. That's the appropriate.
that's your DPH is probably lower than mine. Yeah. But
Right.
the severity of your DPH.
No, but that doesn't. See, the severity's not. But that's not what we're
you're
concerned with.
too-
We're concerned with.
the amount of cars that you've derailed. The last 2 derails that you've had has been
Yeah,
spectacular.
well, I don't just get an offender bender. I total it. Like if I'm gonna total it, I'm gonna total
I'm
it.
gonna send it. Yeah.
Like it's just.
I only had that one bad one where I was trying to tie a handbrake and then I got thrown off of the train by physics and then I watched the train sail down the 10% and put every car in the
Sounds
dirt,
like
but,
a skill issue, bro.
it was fine. It's fine. The internet.
Okay,
hated me
so
in that moment.
obviously you run a lot of real life locomotives.
Right.
This has to have happened. Dumbest thing that has fallen off of your locomotive. Not necessarily your fault, but someone on your crew lost something off the locomotive. There has to be something that
like somebody dropped something.
Something they flew off the side, or like they were shoveling and the shovel handle came off and flew off and killed a spectator.
I have lost the coal scoop over the side once, and that was one of my favorite stupid moments at the museum.
And then you just don't have a coal scoop for
a lap. Yeah, that's the nice thing about the museum is it's a circle. So this was actually funny. So we're running 346, which we call Grandma, who's getting her big rebuild right now. So someday Grandma will be back with us. But little 280, like the Class 70, modern Class 70 in the game. And the hook that holds the coal scoop when you're not shoveling is just kind of a bent piece of wire, thick wire that just hangs on the tender. And we went around the curve and something shifted as I was putting the scoop back, and I was kind of lazy and kind of like tossing it up there a bit. And it bounced off of the hook and fell over the side at the bottom of the hill before we went through the crossing. And it's like, oh crap, I watched in slow-mo in my brain as the coal scoop flies off the side. And it's like, so I took one last look at the fire and I threw a couple pieces of coal in by hand, like, okay, just in case. And we get going through the station platform and I see one of the volunteers there. And I called to him like, hey, I dropped the coal scoop. Can you go over and grab it and then meet me at the crossing with it next time? Because it's like the first lap. It's going to need it, whatever. So I come around again. Had no problems because my fire was already set. Didn't have to put anything else in. And we're coming around and get in vision of the crossing. And there's that volunteer. He wasn't an ops guy, to be fair. But he's standing there with like a big track shovel that's got like a 6-foot-long handle on it.
Oh, perfect.
And it's like it's very much not a coal scoop. Just like the coal scoop in the game isn't a coal scoop, but that's fine. And so it was like, got my engineer down to a crawl, and I broke our rules. We're not allowed to get on and off moving equipment, and I got off moving equipment to go fetch my coal scoop so that we didn't have to stop and restart. But I did it properly. I followed the correct procedure for doing so because we were trained in how to do it in case of emergency.
I'm just picturing you tumbling down like off the
train.
Yeah,
you just yeet off the side and do a barrel roll.
Your like face is about to hit the gravel of like the of the
Oh yeah,
fill.
Exactly. That's the proper
and then
procedure.
It just pauses and it goes, so I bet you're wondering how I got here.
Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly how that goes. So I grab the shovel, get back on. We continue around, and then I got sassed over the radio by the volunteer for getting off and on moving equipment, and I really, really wanted to sass back and be like, and you don't know what a coal shovel is.
Give me a coal shovel instead of a snow shovel next time.
So, but I was like, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, it's against the rules, but that felt like a just application of it. We were going slow. It was safe and suitable ballast, and I did it the proper way,
I saw your video that talked about coal shovels, but for anybody who hasn't seen the video talking about coal shovels, the biggest distinguishing feature in a coal shovel is it's pretty, like, it's got a narrower face, and it's got, like, a little bit of walls on the side of it to help hold the coal. And it's short handles, so you can fit the thing without having to, smack people.
The shovel that's modeled in game for the coal burners is actually a transfer shovel, which is like what the B&B folks would use when going from tender to bunker or bunker to tender or whatever. Not necessarily bigger, but it's just flat and square, and it's not designed to be thrown in an elaborate arc. Really, it's just it holds a set amount of stuff. It's flat. It doesn't have to hold it through kind of a rotary acceleration, because on these littler engines, there's not a lot of space to shovel. And so to get it up to the front of the firebox, which is sometimes, a good 10, on bigger engines, it can be up like 12 feet away, which is like a little bit less than 4 meters. I mean, it can be a long throw. So you really have to put some speed on it. So it's almost like a bowling throw or something with the shovel. And if you had flat sides, I mean, you would not be keeping the coal in that thing. So
I am getting eaten by the train. Okay, now I got eaten
fine.
out.
Give me your soul.
It's an interesting phenomenon when you get eaten by the train.
Yeah.
I was setting brakes in between cordwood, and I fell in between two cars. And
you try to prevent.
Since we're playing with real consequences now, I guess I'm dead. So I gotta just.
Yeah, Con's not allowed to play next episode.
I'm not allowed to play next episode because I'm actually just dead. So
Con has been run over, and we're gonna have Con Jr. Moving forward. Yeah. This is Con's son.
All right, guys, I'm Con Jr. We're gonna come do some railroad today.
And now we're gonna talk about railroad labor practices of the 1900s. Yes, they employed children. for a long
Really?
time.
Are you
That was
serious?
actu-
Oh
that
my
was
God.
actually- yeah. The amount of under 18, like not like kid, but like starting at like teen, like 11, 12, 13, kind of getting in there.
Right.
That was not unheard of. I don't think it was terribly super common, but
Can we talk about how
based-
all our cordwood isn't tied down either and just stays?
It's fine. They're really well stacked by kids. Yeah, a couple 13-year-olds stacked that wood for us.
You're gonna have to go into the lead line there and then run around, and then grab it from
Right.
the back and then pull it up this lead, which seems like we'll have space for it. Looks
We
like
should. We humped like 23 cars the other day.
Yeah,
so-
right. Yeah, we'll be fine. And then you gotta push it up the hump. So I'll do some switching for you. Not your run around switching, but I'll stay
Yeah.
here at the hump and do this switching.
Yeah, if you just break me off, I can go take care of the other ones.
Yeah.
Got enough momentum, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm floating in.
I'm free! Free, I tell you! Alright, you're looking like you're almost at the top there.
Yeah,
so
I'm
I'm
almost
gonna
at the
ease
top of the
back.
hump actually, so that's good.
I just see you floating in the distance, because I see about half
The thing
of
is,
the
too,
train.
you don't even have to push that much weight on. Like, there's only so much on the hump at a time.
Right.
So it's not like you're
only
pushing the
a couple
whole load up
cars.
3%. You're only pushing a small portion of it
And
up,
maybe
and
5,
now
6
the hump's
cars,
working
yeah.
for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop applying power and see if it just goes.
We're not even like. It's so cool. It moves at like a constant speed over the hump because it's still pulling from behind. So there's weight.
Right.
Like, I'm not picking up any speed, even though I should, but I'm not slowing down either.
Right.
And now once that clears the hump, then I'll pick up a little bit of speed.
It's really neat to watch, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so cool.
Really neat concept, and it really made railroading a lot more efficient. So it's cool that we can replicate it, although unprototypical for this era, of course. But
Yeah,
it's a
but
neat
we're
concept
actually
to show
humping
off.
loads now. Isn't that amazing? Like, it's
It
so
is.
good to be, you know,
Good hump and load.
humping like cargo and not just empties. Awesome. Well, let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. Obviously, we got some cordwood to distribute, which is nice. Although we don't really need to distribute it, we might just take it to the smelter because we need cordwood at the smelter.
Yeah, we'll have to think about that. You know, maybe like a couple cars for
I don't think I've
firewood here
ever
and there,
fueled
and
up an
then-
engine once so far.
I haven't actually filled it.
Like any of our tenders,
Yeah.
we've still been running on the initial wood that came with the purchase of the product. So.
Yeah, I think Betsy's gotten a couple handfuls.
Oh,
of wood
true. Maybe
tossed at
Betsy.
it,
Yeah, no,
but
that's true.
I
Betsy
think
might
I think
have.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you all next time.
Laters.
Bye.